So yesterday we drew this basis cranii interna with you. You see, this is the base of the skull. Look from inside. So this is the frontal bone. Here is the internal frontal crest. Here is the crista galli. Here is the cribriform plate. Here are the anterior and posterior ethmoidal foramen, through which the nerve which is coming in the nasociliary nerve coming like this gives the anterior and posterior ethmoidal branches which emerge through these foramen above the cribriform plate and then go into the nose. This nerve, the nasociliary branch of the ophthalmic nerve, supplies the ciliary ganglion and the upper part of nose. That is why it is called as nasociliary. So after that, we focus here on the lesser wing of sphenoid. Here it is its posterior boundary. It's giving rise to the anterior clinoid process. Here is your optic foramen, and this sort of goes like this beak-like process which is called as the jugum sphenoidale. So jugum sphenoidale, tuberculum sali, optic foramen on both sides, sella turcica and dorsum sali. The dorsum sali has the posterior clinoid processes. This is covered by the diaphragma sali. There is a hole in the diaphragma sali, and the infundibulum of the pituitary passes through this hole, connecting the pituitary gland that lies in this sella turcica to the hypothalamus. This is the orbital plate of the frontal bone which separates this anterior cranial fossa from the orbit, in which is lying the eye. Now the importance of this plate is that when there is exophthalmos in thyrotoxicosis, there is a lot of retroorbital edema and the eye can become blind. To decompress that edema, you have to remove this plate, and that operation is called as Naff-Jigger's operation. Okay. Then we say that medial to the anterior clinoid process is the optic foramen. You can see it here. And lateral to it is the superior orbital fissure. The superior orbital fissure passes the third, fourth, fifth A and the sixth nerves, the superior inferior ophthalmic veins, the lacrimal branch of the meningeal artery and the meningeal branch of the lacrimal artery. That's how you remember it. Then you have a foramen rotundum. That we'll make it here, somewhere here. You have the foramen rotundum, and this foramen passes the fifth B nerve, the maxillary nerve. Fifth A is ophthalmic, fifth B is maxillary. Then you have the foramen ovale, and the male passes through ovale, the mandibular nerve, the accessory meningeal artery, the lesser superficial petrosal vein, and the imaginary vein. Then you have the foramen spinosum. You see, the foramen spinosum is named because there is a spine on the outer side of it, and you can see the middle meningeal artery, posterior and anterior branch, and this passes near this point which is called as the pterion. And in head injuries, it can rupture and cause a hematoma here. You remove this part of the bone which is called as temporal craniotomy, and if you stick a piece of bone wax in this foramen spinosum, the bleeding stops. Then you have in the middle cranial fossa, a foramen here which is called as the foramen lacerum. The internal carotid artery enters somewhere here through the carotid foramen. It passes in a canal in this petrous temporal bone which is called the carotid canal. It emerges out of this foramen lacerum. Has an F-shaped course on the lateral side of the body of sphenoid, converts into the middle cerebral and the anterior cerebral at its termination. So this is actually lying in a sinus here, and the sinus here is the cavernous sinus. And in this cavernous sinus, we told you the artery is lying here. There is the abducent nerve here, and there are 4 nerves like this in its lateral wall, which are called as the oculomotor, the trochlear, the ophthalmic. This is the ophthalmic and the maxillary. Otom you can remember, and this is the 6th nerve. So then this middle cranial fossa slopes upwards up to the edge of the petrous temporal bone. As it slopes upward, this area lies the trigeminal ganglion, which gives the ophthalmic, the maxillary through foramen rotundum, and mandibular through the foramen ovale. So this is the trigeminal impression. Then you have an area, triangular area here, which is called as tegment tympani. This overlies the mastoid air cells of the ear. That is called as mastoid antrum. Here it is filled. Mastoid antrum is filled with pus in chronic suppurative otitis media, and it ruptures through the tegment tympani to cause a temporal lobe abscess. So this is about the middle cranial fossa. Here we go on to the posterior cranial fossa, which ends in this big foramen magnum. On the side of the foramen magnum are the occipital condyles, which articulate with the atlas. Here you have the hypoglossal canal. Just lateral to it, you have the jugular foramen. The inferior petrosal sinus connecting the cavernous sinus to the anterior part of the internal jugular foramen lies here. In this inferior petrosal sinus lies the 6th nerve, which thus it is called as the canal of Dorella. It turns around, goes like this into the supraorbital fissure lateral to the internal carotid artery, and supplies the lateral rectus muscles. So from here is the optic nerve. Here you have the eyeball, and this lateral rectus is responsible for outward deviation of the eyeball. So in this bend of Wolff, this nerve is involved in head injury, and you lose the lateral deviation of the eyeball. And that's why this 6th nerve at the bend of Wolff is called as the weakling of the cranial cavity. Alright. Then you have the internal acoustic meatus, through which passes the 7th and the 8th nerve. The ductus endolymphaticus comes out from this, and the anti-inferior cerebellar artery passes through this. So then in the middle of the jugular foramen you have the 9th, 10th and 11th nerve. The 9th, the 10th and the 11th nerve. And from here you have the confluence of sinuses, superior sagittal sinus, straight sinus confluencing here. This is the sigmoid sinus, and it goes and opens into the jugular foramen from behind. Now the sigmoid sinus has the superior petrosal sinus attached to it, riding the ridge of the petrous temporal bone, and the inferior petrosal sinus comes from here, and after it passes the jugular foramen, the sigmoid sinus and the inferior petrosal sinus meet to form the jugular vein. So the jugular foramen passes the inferior petrosal sinus and the sigmoid sinus and the 9th, 10th and 11th nerves. So this was what we revised, and we have shown you in the basis craniae interna. Now we'll learn to draw the basis craniae externa, the base of the skull looked from outside. So this is the alveolus of the maxilla, where you have the teeth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on this side, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 4s are 32. 32 teeth you have. Then there is a palate here, and this is therefore called the palatine ridge, which forms the posterior boundary of the palate. And this is the posterior nasal spine. Here you have the anterior nasal spine. The nose is above this, the mouth is below this. And this palate has a cruciate suture like this. This portion is the maxilla, and this is the horizontal portion of the palatine bone. The palatine bone has a vertical portion and a horizontal portion. It's an L-shaped bone. So this is the horizontal portion of the palatine bone. Here you have the nasopalatine foramen. Nasopalatine foramen connecting the nose and the mouth, and the nasopalatine nerves and vessels pass through it. Then you have here the greater palatine and the lesser palatine foramen. The greater and the lesser palatine foramen, greater and lesser palatine foramen, through which pass the greater palatine and lesser palatine nerves and vessels. Then, if this is the greater wing of sphenoid, like this, here is the body, then this body has got 2 feet like this. It's like an eagle. Here is the lesser wing of sphenoid, here is the body, and this is the greater wing. It has got a temporal and an infratemporal surface, and these are the pterygoid processes. As these pterygoid processes come down, they divide into a lateral and a medial pterygoid process. Alright. The medial pterygoid process is shaped like this, and this is called as pterygoid hamulus. And this is the lateral pterygoid plate. Alright. So here we'll make the pterygoid hamulus, and this is the lateral pterygoid plate, and this is the pterygoid process, and on this side the medial pterygoid hamulus, the pterygoid medial pterygoid process, and the lateral pterygoid process. Alright, so this has the posterior nares, There are the anterior nares of the nose and the posterior nares. From this, you draw an elliptical thing like this. This is the petrosphenoid fissure. This is the sphenoid bone. This is the petrous bone. This petrous bone has an internal carotid foramen. This is the carotid canal. The artery enters here, goes through this carotid canal, and here is the foramen lacerum through which it enters. So we'll draw the artery. It enters here, passes like this, and then here it enters the middle cranial fossa, where it has that F-shaped course on the lateral side of the body of sphenoid in the cavernous sinus. So this is the petrosphenoid fissure. This side sphenoid, this side petrosphenoid fissure. Then you have the acoustic meatus like this, and we'll make it on this side, the petrosphenoid fissure, the petrous temporal bone, the carotid canal, and the foramen lacerum, and then we'll make the external acoustic meatus on this side. Then we connect this, and this forms the, and we put the foramen magnum here, and we place the two occipital condyles here. Now this is the base of the occiput bone. You have the pharyngeal tubercle here. Then you have the external occipital crest here, the external occipital protuberance, and you have the inferior, the superior, and the highest lines, which are called the inferior, the superior, and the highest nuchal lines. Inferior, superior, and highest nuchal lines. Alright. Now the superior nuchal line goes to a process here which is called as the mastoid process. Between the ear and the mastoid process is the styloid process, and at the base of the styloid process is the stylomastoid foramen. So here you have the styloid process on this side, and on the base of it is the stylomastoid foramen, from which emerges the facial nerve. Now lateral to this is a dark area which I am showing you. This is the, between the pterygoid and the maxilla, there is a pterygomaxillary fissure. So this pterygoid is behind it, maxilla is in front of it, and the vertical plate of palatine forms its base. This is the pterygomaxillary fissure which you see, and then from here you can draw the zygomatic bone. The zygomatic bone goes like this. As it comes towards the ear, it bears the temporomandibular. This is the temporal bone, temporo, and in this lies the head of the mandible, temporomandibular joint, fossa for the head of the mandible, temporomandibular joint. This is the fossa here. From here you have the horizontal plate. This is the temporal surface of the greater villus sphenoid, and this is the infratemporal surface. So here you have the infratemporal surface of the greater villus sphenoid, and you have the foramen ovale passing the male. There is a spinosphenoid, and you have the foramen spinosum. So So foramen ovale, foramen spinosum, and the foramen rotundum is actually opening in the pterygomaxillary fissure. So this as a basis, let us try to recognize these things in the photo. The alveolus, the nasopalatine foramen, the cruciate fissure, the maxilla, the horizontal plate of the palatine bone, the palatine ridge, the posterior nares, the pterygoid, the medial pterygoid plate and the pterygoid hamulus here, the lateral pterygoid plate, then you have this fissure between the petrosphenoid fissure. This is the petrous bone where the carotid artery enters. It passes like this and then enters through the foramen lacerum into the middle cranial fossa. Then you have the base of the occipital bone which meets the sphenoid bone. This is the last fissure to close at 25 years of age. So if it is closed, you can say the person is above 25 years. This is the pharyngeal tubercle. Here are the two occipital condyles, right? Then you will have this foramen, which is the jugular foramen, here, passing the 9th, 10th and 11th nerve, the sigmoid sinus and the inferior petrosal sinus which make the jugular vein. Here you have the external occipital crest. Here you have the inferior nuchal line is somewhere here. This is the superior nuchal line, this is the highest nuchal line, and you can see that this is going to the mastoid process, this bulge that you see here, and this is the styloid process. Here is the temporomandibular fossa. Here is the zygomatic process of the temporal bone meeting the zygomatic bone, and this zygomatic bone is uniting with the maxilla here. So this is the zygomatico-maxillary fissure. You can't really see the pterygomaxillary fissure because it will be anterior to the pterygoid and behind the maxilla. This vertical plate of the palatine bone will form its floor or its medial boundary. So this revision gives you the revision of basis craniae externa. Okay, so this much about the osteology of the skull, the base of the skull from inside and outside. Thank you.